Hey crew, I've got the key card to this Xiaomi SU7. We are going to take it for a drive, but first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. So Xiaomi is a Chinese tech company that is trying their hand at building cars, and this is their first product. And while normally Xiaomi is not imported to the US and isn't street legal, I do have a chance to drive it thanks to D-Car Studio. So up here at the front, we've got a very clean fascia with these lower moldings in that same Meteor Blue color as the rest of the car. The headlights are McLaren-esque with these projector LEDs and these bisecting LED DRLs and turn signals. Down low, these vents are functional and flow some cool air to the brakes and tires. The wheels are 20-inch two-tone alloys wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport EV tires. They're an all-season compound. And within those, we find these Brembo slotted brakes with yellow painted calipers. This section width 245 in the front, 265 at the back. Stepping back to look at the profile, now we're seeing some Porsche Taycan to these proportions, particularly the front haunches and that low roofline, the window trim, and the lower sills. But then you get to the back and things kind of change a little bit because the way the SU7 finishes off is similar in design to the other Chinese cars I've seen. There's just something about the flow and these connecting taillights that looks different. And down low, the diffuser, once again, does borrow some inspiration from Porsche here with those same color contrasting panels. Overall, there are definite design similarities between this and the Taycan, and they pull in some McLaren and maybe even Tesla inspiration in bits, but it's not a bad looking car. And in fact, it looks more compact than the Taycan, but as we'll see when we check out the interior, it's actually quite spacious. My question for you is, how do you think the SU7 would fit into US traffic? Would it blend in or stand out awkwardly? Let me know in the comments, and let's check out the interior. Opening up and looking inside at this Twilight Red Leather interior with seat perforations, contrast stitching. You know, I don't know if the red on this hue of blue, it's almost a turquoise color, would be my personal aesthetic preference, but you know what, the seats do look very nice. And they've also got seat heating. On the doors, black leather up top, some fake wood trim here. This is almost a rubberized microfiber insert there. Hard plastics down low. Don't love that quite as much. There's a 25 speaker sound system in this car. Guess that's what you get with a tech company making a car. One touch up down windows, power door opening and closing. I like the aluminum speaker grate there. Sliding in, easy entry. And this is behind my seat at 6 feet tall. And I've got tons of knee room here. The seat back's all in leather. They didn't cheap out there. Red contrast stitching in the middle. My head clears the roof, which is a giant piece of glass. And it's got this suede border to it. Foot pockets, not that large, and my thigh support isn't great because this is a skateboard architecture, so the batteries are underneath the floor, raising that up. The seats are really comfortable though. In the center, there are air vents. You get 2 USB-C ports, no back seat climate control. I wish there was that here. You do instead get a cooler though for your beverages. I can't think of a US sold vehicle that isn't a Rolls-Royce or something of that caliber that has a cooler for the rear beverages. Also storage maybe for your phone. If I want to slide into the middle seats, my head just kind of touches the roof here, but man, you could get at least 2 full-size adults in the back, maybe a kiddo in the middle. Armrest does come down with cup holders and nice padding for your arm. I really like the back seats. Oh, and these slots here, not only do they feel really well put together, but that is for attachments of a tablet. All right, let's check out the front next. I'm gonna listen for the door close noise. Little rattle, but honestly, for frameless windows, that was a really solid thud. Looking at the front seats now. Bit more aggressive chairs. Got some side bolsters that do adjust, and perforations on the headrests for the speakers that are integrated within. And that's great because if you've got navigation going, then the driver can just hear those instructions and it won't disturb anyone else in the cabin. There are also seat controls down here. I like that those are physical. They're not just in the infotainment screen. Looking at the driver door, they're similar to the back. 4 one-touch windows here. I'm gonna go check out the trunk now. And it is a more traditional trunk opening, not a hatch style opening. That does decrease the practicality a little bit, but there is quite a bit of storage space. And if you want to fold down those rear seats 60/40, you do have to pull on the levers when you open up those rear doors. And for additional storage space, this is a nice leather strap. Attention to detail, I dig that. You've got even more storage underneath the floor, and there is also a sizable frunk. Closing up the trunk with that button there and sliding into the cabin gracefully. Closing that door. Once again, a very solid thud. Looking at the driver cockpit, got this leather-wrapped, small diameter steering wheel with a flat bottom. Feels really sporty in the hands. And I've got these two controls. The one on the left is for the driving assistance features. The one on the right is for the drive modes. You can turn the dial, and then you've got some push-to-pass power. Volume controls here on the wheel. Physical stocks for your wipers and turn signals and for your drive selection. And I really appreciate that those are physical. You don't just have to use the infotainment screen like a Tesla. I also like the digital gauge cluster right there in front of the driver. Oh, and when I turn off the vehicle, it rotates forward into a silhouette of the car. Dig that. There's also a big head-up display. Turning my attention now to the giant tablet in the center that is, again, like a Tesla, and also about as quick as a Tesla vehicle, though there isn't a software setting for English, so this is just in Chinese characters. I can't obviously understand that, but I do know that you can adjust the seat heating and ventilation, you can work the door mirrors, you can work the navigation, your apps, all that stuff is in the screen. And then there are some physical controls. I love that. We've got these toggles here for the temperature adjustment, for fan speed, for raising or lowering the spoiler, and adjusting the height of the air suspension. Not only do these feel really solid, but they do reduce some of the distraction while driving, as opposed to a Tesla that makes you do everything in the infotainment. There are two wireless charging pads here. We've got two cup holders, more of that fake wood trim. I'm glad it's not gloss black, and the trim around that is real aluminum. Here under the leather-topped console, we've got good storage inside, and then there are two USB-C ports hidden up under there. Visibility is quite good. There's a high rear cowl, and so the view straight out the back isn't amazing, but this really doesn't have major blind spots. And we've got standard blind spot monitoring. And you know, overall, apart from some hard plastics up front, this cabin feels really well put together with nice materials and aesthetics, especially for the price point, which I'll talk about more in a second. For now, let's take the Xiaomi SU7 for a drive. All right, let's fire it back up. I wanted to hit the start-stop button, but yeah, just putting my foot on the brake turns it back on. This is so cool. All right, so I am joined by Ben from D-Car, and he's going to be able to answer some questions that are related to some of the Chinese characters on the screen. But we are going to start out by just going into reverse, even though I'm just backed into this parking space, so I can show you the really high-res camera system here with lots of different angles. That's the reverse, that's the front. You've got the side views, the overhead view. You can even make the car go transparent, and you can even fold in the door mirrors from here. All right, here we go. Back into drive, rolling on forward here. And I'm starting out in, Ben, what mode am I in right now? Is it just the comfort mode?
Yeah.
So if I turn the dial?
This is economy.
This is economy, okay. And then this is comfort.
New preset, this is personal preset, individual.
Oh, there's an individual mode, so you can customize.
Yeah.
This is comfort.
Sports.
Sports.
Sports Plus.
Sport Plus with a G meter. There we go, I like that. Okay, so let's go back to comfort. And I'm just gonna go at a slight angle here to see about the clearance. No issues at all. The car we're in right now is the SU7 MAX, which is the all-wheel drive version. There is also a rear drive version that makes 295 horsepower and has a range of, what is it, Ben? 435 miles, but the Max makes 673 horsepower, I think, right?
Yep.
Yep, and 618 pound-feet of torque. Its range is how much? 497 miles of range, which is really knocking on the door of the Lucid Air Grand Touring. But yeah, it's got lots of power, and right now in the comfort mode, the accelerator response is very gentle. It picks up speed, of course, instantaneously as an EV, but it's super smooth. Can't remember if I mentioned dual motor, 800 volt architecture. So this car can charge from 10 to 80% in just about 20 minutes. Super quick charging, if the US had the charging infrastructure to support that. Listening for the turn signal sound. Oh, I canceled it out. I like it. It's a gentle tapping noise. And I think we've got to do the world famous horn test. Ooh, that thing has some grievances to air and it wants you to hear about them. We are going to have to do a turning radius test up here as well. Pulling out, cranking the wheel. Oh my gosh. That's so good. For something without rear wheel steering, that is a crazy tight circle. And I wanted to demo the navigation that is spoken to me via the headrest. So I've got CarPlay going right now, and
stop sign, turn right onto Alton Parkway.
And that's only talking through my headrest to isolate that and not upset anyone else in the cabin. I like the feel of the braking, not a weird handoff between friction and regen braking. Here's some bumps we can go over. Oh, that's so good. The ride compliance is amazing. Okay, so it's got this adaptive air suspension system. This is the first car from this company, and the ride quality feels like they've been doing this for decades. That is already the most impressive thing about the SU7, is just how smooth this rides. It feels like a real luxury car. No part about this feels like, we're just trying to figure things out. Yeah. So, okay, as a comparison, I'm driving the Mercedes-AMG C63 right now as well, and that just crashes over speed bumps, and this just absorbs it. All right, and I've enjoyed the comfort mode's ease of acceleration, but I want to try out some of the different modes now. I'm going to move over into sports, which introduces some artificial noise under acceleration and perks up that responsiveness. All right, I'm going to hop on the highway here from that sport drive mode. There is plenty of motivation. And we'll see about the passing power. I'm just going to hit the push to pass button here as I make a lane change. Okay. It gets up and moving. Oh, I like the animations. Look at that. Mach speed. And then that's the termination of the 20 seconds of push to pass. Very Taycan-esque, and I'm not upset by it. I like the steering as well. There's a good natural feel as I turn the wheel. Doesn't feel over boosted. Just pretty well dialed. Not a mystery to what's happening. Dare I say, it's actually pretty fun. The all-season tires, though, and their lack of grip. They were complaining at what I imagine was 45 miles per hour. All right, I pulled Ben up here for just a sec to walk me through all the calibrations for the Regen braking system, and I will show you that in a moment. But first, he pointed out that I missed this giant storage area underneath the dashboard where I put my GoPro accessories, but you could fit a backpack in here easy enough, and there's even this open cubby where you can stick an accessory that's actually a walkie-talkie you can pair with your friend and talk with you from inside or outside the car. He also mentioned that the vanity mirrors are massive. Look at that. That's probably the biggest vanity mirror I've ever seen. All right, now to the Regen braking. So right now, I've got it in 25% of the maximum. You can adjust this in 1% increments. So here, 25%, pulling my foot off the throttle. It provides a small bit of slowing. I'm going to 100. And when I pull my foot off, it's like clamping down. Really wants to pull the car back down to 0 so quickly. That's one of the stronger one-pedal drives I've ever experienced in an EV. And it might be too much for me to want a daily use, so I'm going to go to 50% here or around that. And that's what a more traditional one-pedal drive, or maybe even 60 or 65% would be. But it's just so unusual that you can adjust that to this granular degree. I'm going to do a super brief demonstration of the acceleration with the launch control system. When I go into Sport Plus, it's as simple as brake, throttle, Launch control initiating. I love this animation. Let go. That's serious, and that's only with like maybe 15% of battery charge remaining. And probably a good time to mention that this company makes an ultra version that recently just lapped the Nürburgring in like 6 minutes and 40 seconds, a full 21 seconds quicker than the Taycan Turbo. And that was a pre-production model, and so its lap time didn't count legitimately, but 1,500 and something horsepower in that Ultra, and it's going to be for public sale. That's just ludicrous. I really wish I could drive that one. This has been a brief sampling of this car, but it's been a very positive impression for someone who has never driven a Chinese car. Now we get to the price point, which if converted to US dollars, this car as tested with all the options, the Max powertrain, all-wheel drive, 673 horsepower, and 400 plus miles of range, $41,500. $41,500. Just to compare, a Taycan 4S would be over $100,000. A Lucid Air Grand Touring would be over $100,000. Even if we were to imagine a 100% tariff that the US levied on Xiaomi, if this was $80,000, it would still be worth $80,000 and feel like a deal. And so if this car was sold here, priced at $80,000, I think the only thing that would make someone hang up on this versus the competitors would be perhaps the styling, but everything else about the drive has been at the level or better than the vehicles I just mentioned. It's just wild. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this first drive as much as I did, and I want to thank Ben and D-Car for giving me the opportunity to drive something I never otherwise would be able to, and I will see you guys again next time.